Hello all, welcome to the YouTube tutorial. In last video, we have seen how to create a controller and actions. Now today we will see how to create a view and how it is going to display a page. So what is a view? The view are responsible for presenting the data to the end user. It is just like a PHP script file containing HTML and PHP. So let's see how to create a view. To create a view, first remember in our basic folder there is a folder called view. In that we have to create our view. So what we do, we create a new folder inside a view. Why? Because the view folder name is should be same as our controller name. So our controller name is example. So we will create the same view folder. So inside the view new folder, we will give name tag example. Okay. Inside example, we will create a new file and we will give it name as suppose first index.php. Example is the name of a view folder. It is same as the name of the our controller. So what we do to call this PHP file, we have to render the view. So what we'll do inside the index method, we will write the code to render a view file. Return this render and the name of the view file. Our file name is our view file name is first index.php. So we will write only first index. How is going to render? But we have written nothing inside that. So what we'll do? We just copy here base files. We did not need all these things. Delete. Okay, and here we write our content which we want to display on the page. So we will write this is an sample controller first view. And we will go to our browser to see it how it works. Example index, enter and see. This is an example controller first view message we have given here. So how it's called, how it is, you can call the view file. The next method in this view is render content method. So what it does, we will see that. We will take example, we will comment this, next line, return this, call the method render content and pass this string. What it does, it renders a string, static string, and applies a layout of a page. So we will see that how it works. We pass the content this and render content method. And we will go to our browser to check it. Refresh. This is a render content method. The string which we pass here, it will display it with this layout. That is, and what is the difference between with layout and without layout? We will see in next method. That is render partial. So with render content, it simply display a static content. The next method is render partial. So what we do, we will write it return this comment the above line. Okay, render partial, and we pass our view file name. That is first index. This is name of our U file. We will check the browser now. Refresh. See this. Displays the content of the view file without the inbuilt layout, that is without the footer and header. It does not display a layout but displays the content. And what it does in render content, the render content method displays the content with layout. See this once again, we will see this with example. We will remove the render content. It displays the content with layout. See, this is render method, and the project layout, that is inbuilt layout, header, footer is you can see here. And in this render partial method, it just display the view without layout. See, that is the difference between the render content method and render partial method. The next method in this, render a Ajax file. Render and the second method is render file. See, what the render Ajax method renders a view without layout, but it injects all the register JS and CSS. That is the JSS and CSS file which we are used in the in our application, that can be applied in this method, but it does not follow the layout. And what does render file? The render file renders a view with a given specified file. We can see these two examples in our next videos. We will pass here comment, that is it render static content with layout. Here we write render content or file view file without layout. Okay. In Ajax, what it does, renders view without layout but with JSS and CSS, but tricks on JS and CSS. And what the render file does, it renders a view to specified file or okay. The next thing is to render a view within a view. Render a view within a view file. How it's going to work, we will see that. For that, we have to make two view files inside our example view folder. So what we do, we just copy this file, paste it to example. Okay, we rename it. Suppose this file name is part1.php and the second file name is part2.php. We will write something here. This is an part1 view file. Okay, copy, we will go to part2. This is an part2 view file. So what we'll do, to render a view within another view file, what we are going to do, we pass this newly created view file inside our first index view file. That is our first view file which we are created here. That is first index file. So what we are going to do, we just copy this and call this method, return this render first index file. We are from controller function. From this action method, we have to pass only our first view file, that is first index file, and inside the first index file, we will call these two newly created view files. So how is going to call? We will see that we simply have to echo the file names. This call the render method as the newly created file name, part1, and for the part2. What were what we are doing, we are simply passing or we are simply rendering part 1 view file and part 2 view file inside our first index PHP file. So we will go to browser and check it. So see, this is an example controller first view, this is an part 1 view file and this is a part view file. We will check it again. We will write in bold letters so it will be easily identified. In part 1 we have what we have written. This is a part 1 view file, this is one view file, this is another part 2 view file, and we call these two view files, we render these two view files inside our main first index B file. So the result is, this is an example controller first view, this is a part 1 view file, this is a part 2 view file. This is how we render a view, another view file. The next thing in view is accessing data in the view. To access data within a view, you should pass the data as a second parameter to the view rendering method. So how it's going to work, we will see that. For that, we will create some variable. Suppose email is equal to ABC, give some any random value. and second parameter is message. Welcome to first index view. After declaring this variable, we will render the view file, return $this render pass the parameter. First parameter is name of the view file, first index. Second parameter is the variables we have declared here. So email how it's going to call the view file and display. So we will go to our view file, that is first index.php. In view file we simply display variables email echo message echo and we will move to our browser to see the result. Email is abc@yahoo.com and message is welcome to the first index. This is how we can pass the parameters to view file and display a message. This is how we create a view, can render the view. If you do not want to set, if you do not want to see the header and footer inbuilt, so you can use the render partial method. Or if you want to use the header footer inbuilt, so you can simply render the view file. Thank you.